my work is very specific to this location and to this moment in time. My name is Kayla Powers. I'm a weaver and natural dyer, and I consider myself a place-based artist. I live over on the east side of Detroit, and all of the materials that I work with, all of the plants that I work with, are foraged from or grown in Detroit. I've known for a long time that I want to be an artist, and I think I've always been creative and curious about the natural world, and it's only in the last few years that I've started to identify as an artist. Doing textile work, I've always sort of seen myself as a craft person, and I've spent about 10 years now really honing my skills. But recently I've started to want to communicate more through my work, and I find that I have something unique to add to the conversation. I went to Western Michigan University and got a degree in art history, but when I graduated I wasn't quite ready to jump into the workforce, so I got a job on an organic farm. And so I was learning about growing flowers and vegetables, and at the same time I was taking a course at the Kalamazoo Institute of Art. So I was learning about weaving and learning about plants at the same time, which proved to be a very formative educational experience for me. When I first started making art, I was making utilitarian goods, so rugs and blankets and things that would get used indoors. And now I make art because I have something that I feel is really special, which is the natural world that exists here in the urban environment. And I find that it's a great way to communicate and to share those ideas and those feelings. I make art as a way to respond to what is happening in the world around us, as an expression of love for the city. It's always very minimal in composition. I really like to let the colors speak for themselves, and to really represent the season and to represent place. I describe my art as naturally dyed, hand-woven textiles, and because I'm working with locally grown and locally foraged plants, I also call it place-based art. So that just means that my work is very specific to this location and to this moment in time. So I want to tell you about a project that I've been working on for the past year called Local Color Natural Dyes of Detroit. And it's actually an installation that's up on the DeQuinder Cut right now. It'll be up for another 5 days. And the project is a series of naturally dyed hand-woven tapestries. The wool that I used to weave the tapestries was all dyed with local plants, so either locally grown or locally foraged dye plants. And this really was born out of a curiosity of what the local palette is here in Detroit. I have this idea that every different region and even microclimates have their own color palette just based on the plants that grow. And so this was really a chance to show off the natural world that we are surrounded by and that we are a part of here in Detroit. My favorite art to see at the DIA is the Indigenous American art. I feel so inspired by the work which would have been place-based art also, because they would have been working with materials that they had at hand. And this is something that I have sort of artificially put this restriction on my own work, the limitations of a seasonal and local palette, because we have access to everything now, but back then it would have been not a choice to have that restriction. And I just think it's so impressive what people were able to make. I love to see the symbols that were used and the stories that are communicated through craft. So I do most of my weaving on one of these floor looms, and the project I'm working on right now is to weave a grid structure out of all of my naturally dyed wool. And so I use this linen warp, which is a really nice, strong 8x wet spun linen. And I use this wool that comes from a mill over on the west side of the state. And these are all pieces that have been dyed with plants from Detroit in just the last month or so. So I'll just do a little demonstration here. All of my work pretty much happens in plain weave, so that just means that the overall structure is just over, under, over, under. So it's nothing too complicated, and I find that that way the colors can really speak for themselves. I make art as a way to respond to what is happening in the world around us, as an expression of love for the city. I make art because it makes me feel human, to use my hands and to create something, in partnership with the natural world. I make art because I love beautiful things, and I love to contribute beautiful things to the world. There's so many reasons. My work is very specific to this location and to this moment in time.